Hello, my name is Michael McKenzie, and I am presenting the final presentation for the digital process transformation of a martial arts academy in Atlanta, Georgia. This business is a small business owned by a sole proprietor with only about 10 or less part-time employees that runs after-school martial arts programs for children, teens, and adults, and we will be primarily focusing on the children and teen or youth programs. The school has about 150 students and has a very tight budget and limited staff. Using the business model canvas, we can get a little bit of an idea of how the school runs its business. Obviously, its primary revenue is going to come from membership and belt test fees from the martial arts students, as well as sales of uniforms, training equipment, and some merchandise. And major benefits or value proposition to customers are going to be gaining self-defense skills, helping kids improve their focus and discipline, improving academic grades through that increased focus, and giving children a productive activity to do. Because at the end of the day, the end customer is truly the parent of these students that take the classes and not the students themselves. The parents are the ones that are paying. So basic SWOT analysis for the school. Strengths. The school has been around for a long time and knows how to teach martial arts classes very well. Weaknesses. Costs to run the business are relatively high in a large facility with increasing maintenance as the building ages. Um, and there are major opportunities for improving processes with digital transformation, which is the main focus of our talk today. Now, before we get into the process improvement discussion, understanding the stakeholders is key. So, as I said, the parents of youth students are the primary customers, so making sure that they stay satisfied with any process change at the school is vital. Now, the actual students, the children who take classes, have low decision making power, low interest. We want the students to receive good education, but they have really no say in the business processes of the facility. Now, the staff have a high interest in making sure the process is easy to perform and makes their lives better in the course of doing their job. But ultimately, the decision making power lies with the owner of the business, who is both the business owner and the head instructor. So his kind of single person say is final in this process. Now, in terms of the process landscape, it is key to understand that this business is a small business and does not actually have corporate style departments. But if you split out the basic processes of the business into a traditional process landscape format, you can see basic things that the business does on a regular basis in terms of IT, finance, support, strategic planning. But what we're really focused on today for digital transformation are the core processes, and we're going to focus in on that first one that you see called lead intake. We want to focus on the process of starting with a customer coming in looking for information and ending with signing their child up for a martial arts program subscription. Now, the objective of the project overall is to figure out what process in the business would benefit from a digital transformation. And we want the outcome to be that we save time, operate more efficiently, and have an overall increase in staff and customer satisfaction, as well as improved service in terms of the martial arts instruction that is provided. The methodology, given that this is a small business, there are very few key players to speak with, and there is also very limited documentation. So, the data mining of documentation or IT processes is not really going to come into play here. We're primarily going to be focused on shadowing people in the course of their jobs, regular interviews with the owner, and the couple key staff players that perform the processes most often, and that should be sufficient to figure out what their current processes are and how to help improve them. Now, the current process, without going into excruciating detail, is basically a lead, the parent of a child that is interested in martial arts classes, calls the school for information. The front desk has a lengthy conversation to tell them everything they want to know about the school, the program, the schedule, the prices, everything they could want to know. and then they get that parent scheduled over the phone to bring their child in for an introductory lesson. And then you can see through the process, there's a sort of painful section in the middle where the staff has to go back and forth on the day of the lesson with the parent on paperwork, waivers, contracts, payment collections, um, and this bottleneck of a single person at the front desk who is oftentimes the person who is also having to teach the child the lesson within a constrained time frame. We want to make their process easier and get rid of some of this rote, repetitive client interaction so they can focus on just the value adding processes of teaching the children's lesson and having key conversations with the parent that don't involve explaining contracts or collecting a credit card number or boring things like that that just take up time and add little value. Now, before we jump into redesigning the process, we want to understand the overall process at a deeper level. We want to see what are the current issues and what are the potential root causes. And we're going to use a traditional fishbone or Ishikawa diagram to do that. So, looking at a couple key categories such as the current technology, the business policies, the process itself, as well as the people that perform it. The technology is standard, late 90s, early 2000s uh, computer, website, internet, but the business hasn't necessarily adopted some of the new technologies that are being used by retail businesses to make payments and customer interactions go more smoothly than they used to. The leadership has been a bit slow adapting to technology, which is common for a sole proprietorship. If the business owner is not a tech guru themselves, they just continue doing what they've been doing and assume it keeps working, and they get to a point where they realize they need to make a change to stay competitive. Now, for the people involved in the process, they want to have less stress, less constraints, and do higher value work. And that's going to mean making the process less manual, get rid of some of these paper documents, these lengthy phone calls, and get rid of moments where we're waiting for the client and just sitting at the desk while they read a contract or sign some paperwork. We want to stick to high value activities and automate the stuff that's repetitive and low value. Now, we're going to redesign the process using common heuristics. So, as we know from this course, cost, time, quality, and flexibility are things that we would like to have the best of all of, but because some of these things push and pull on each other, it's an optimization problem. So, we want a set of heuristics to improve the process that give us some improvements across all of these areas while realizing that we have to sometimes make trade offs between one or more different uh, relevant factors that we're trying to improve. You can't do it all, essentially. Now, looking at the heuristics that we are interested in with this pick chart of what is high payoff versus high or low difficulty to do, we're focused in on control relocation and contact reduction. We want to try to move away some of the rote client interactions and have a computer or a robot do those things instead of a live person who could be doing higher value tasks. In that same sort of theme, activity composition, where we combine activities into single activities, combine multiple activities into single activities to smooth out a process. And numerical involvement. In this particular situation, we have a case where sometimes the person at the front desk who is doing client intake and onboarding is too busy to be the same person that teaches the child their introductory lesson when they come into the martial arts school. So if we can automate enough of the front desk work, it could be the same person that takes care of all of the admin work and the martial arts instruction, freeing up another person to go do something else useful in the facility rather than having two people dealing with this one child's introduction to the facility. Now, the new design process looks quite similar to the old one, the main difference being in the upper left quadrant early on, where the potential client, instead of calling the school and initiating a lengthy conversation with the front desk help, they are now being directed to speak with an automated chatbot, let's say, who's going to send them a link to the website where they can find all of the answers to the typical information questions that our front desk has to give over and over and over to new leads. That is going to give them a online process where they can schedule their own introductory lesson for their child on a live calendar that reflects openings available at the school. And then all of the basic paperwork in terms of waivers to review, contracts to review, and payment information to be gathered and authorized, all of that is now going to happen online so that when they come to the facility, all that they are really doing is introducing themselves and the child to the staff, obtaining uniforms and equipment from the staff, and immediately jumping into their introductory lesson, after which they can make a decision as to whether they want to enroll or not enroll. So we've essentially freed up the vast majority of the time that our front desk spends preparing the lead to come to the school, and essentially the parent is doing all of that introductory work themselves, and our staff doesn't have to interact until they are actually in the facility and well along the funnel to becoming a paying customer, which is more ideal for us. Now, in terms of implementation, we want to think about the technologies that we're going to actually use. So the primary thing of interest is going to be robotic process automation. As I previously mentioned, the potential customer is going to be speaking to a fairly low level, simple chatbot type program that helps them answer their basic question and directs them to the pages that they need to get signed up and take away that work from our staff. Again, it's rote repetitive conversations that we want to kind of take off of our people's plate. Now, having implemented the new process, we want to think of future things that can be done. So using some of the tools from the business model canvas folks, the idea of customer jobs, right? We want to think of other things that our customer is trying to accomplish when they interact with our business, and then figure out ways that we can give them digital offerings or digital improvements to our business that solve those jobs, get rid of their frustration, their pain points, and give them extra benefits that they didn't even know they wanted, the gains, right? So just examples of jobs that a parent of a student might want to accomplish: making payments on time, keeping track of the school schedule and special events, helping their kids practice and train at home outside of class so that they can improve quickly and pass their belt promotion tests. So basic pain points are: the parents are very busy. They lose track of when the payments have to go in, what the schedule is at the school when changes happen or new events are announced. And magically, the parents themselves are not taking martial arts class, their kid is. So they have trouble teaching the kids at home or helping them practice. It's like a parent trying to do math homework with their child, where the child is doing more advanced math than the parent knows. It's hard. Um, so with that in mind, some of the pain relievers and gain creators that we want from future digital improvements might include things like improving website functionality so that parents can access high quality training resources. How much better, instead of the parent having to on the fly figure out a martial arts technique for their child, they can just pull up a video that tells the parent exactly how to show a technique to the kid, or even just park the kid in front of the video if they're old enough and you know uh, disciplined enough to just practice themselves and take that off the parent's plate. Uh, Implementing automated CRM software, payment solutions with other features helps the school, again, provide value to its clients in terms of taking rote payment entry functions, scheduling functions off of the staff's plate, and helps the parents because the software often has the ability to automate payments so that the parent never has to track that issue again. Or they can also receive automated reminders when events are coming up, sign up with easy digital processes, and just make the whole process and the customer experience very smooth for the parent of these students. So overall, the primary process was the lead intake to sign up process, getting a parent from expressing interest in our programs to getting their kids signed up, using digital improvements to free up our staff's time to just focus on the client interactions that provide the most value right before the close of a sale, and use basic process heuristics to push off all of the remaining repetitive rote tasks to the customer themselves in a way that the customer actually feels is smoother and better for them as well as the business. Um, so this is how digital transformation can improve a small business such as a martial arts studio, which was the primary goal of this project and this presentation. So thank you for your time.